Good evening and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Padmaja Joshi, and on every story that matters, as always, the buck stops here. And today, without a doubt, the entire country is asking only one thing. Is India now staring at the spectre of a white-collar terror module where young, educated professionals are indoctrinated and radicalized enough in order to turn into suicide bombers? And not just any professionals, doctors. Doctors who literally take an oath to save lives, to heal, to nurture. These doctors turned into messengers of death. 6 such doctors have now been identified as members of terror modules unearthed across India. Terror modules that stretch from Jammu and Kashmir to Haryana and now to Delhi. Terror modules that planned and executed the Fidain attack on Monday outside the Red Fort in the national capital. A module that has killed over a dozen people in its attack in Delhi, injured at least 20, many of them grievously. Dr. Umar Muhammad, only in his early 30s, will now be known as the Fidain Doctor Bomber of Delhi. It is Dr. Umar who is believed to have been driving the I-20 car that exploded near the Chandni Chowk metro station, sending a massive ball of fire several meters up in the air. Now, the Home Ministry has handed over this entire investigation to the NIA. Initial reports suggest that a large amount of ammonium nitrate was used in this attack. So far, a total of 52 people have been questioned across several cities. Investigators believe that when the Faridabad module was busted over the last fortnight, when the details were revealed yesterday, Dr. Umar and his associates panicked and carried out the Red Fort attack in a hurry. But Dr. Umar isn't the only one. He is not the only indoctrinated person. A total of 6 such people, like I said, have already been identified. They are in the crosshairs of intelligence agencies and are being investigated for their role in not just the Delhi attack, but also several such conspiracies that were being hatched across the country. Take a look at these faces. These are young men and women who are MBBS, who are well educated, who yet decided to go down this dark path. Dr. Sajjad, Dr. Shaheen, Dr. Muzammil, Dr. Adil, and Dr. Umar. Who are these people? Let's tell you about them one by one. Let's start with Dr. Muhammad Umar, the man, of course, who is the Delhi bomber. This person belongs to Pulwama. He is, like I said, in his early 30s. He was employed at the Al Falah Medical College in Faridabad. Next, let's talk about Dr. Muzammil Ahmad Ganai. This man is a medical professional, again, at Al Falah Hospital, and these are the points that join them together. Did they get associated? Did they get familiarized with each other at Al Falah Hospital? This is where the both of them were working. 2,900 kgs of explosives were found in his rented flat in Faridabad. That is where the major terror bust happened. And in addition to both of them being at Al Falah Hospital, they also both belong to Pulwama in Jammu and Kashmir. Then there is Dr. Adil Radar. He worked at GMC Anantnag. He, in fact, was the first link which made investigators believe that something bigger was at play. Dr. Radar was caught on CCTV camera pasting Jaish-e-Mohammed posters across Srinagar. When he was tracked down, when he was interrogated, a rifle was found in his locker at GMC Anantnag, and it is Radar who led the others to Dr. Muzammil in turn. Then there is Dr. Shaheen, and this is where things get really, really murky. She was tasked with building the women's wing of the Jaish-e-Mohammed in India. She recruited women for terror activities and was subsequently arrested from Lucknow. She belongs to Lucknow. She again has the link of Al Salah Hospital in Faridabad. A rifle and explosives were found in her car. Now let's come to Dr. Ahmad Mohiuddin Saeed. He is somebody who's been arrested by the Gujarat ATS and very scary details of what this doctor was planning. He was preparing for a ricin attack. He surveyed Delhi's Azadpur Mandi, Ahmedabad's Naroda Fruit Market and the office of the RSS in Lucknow. 2 Glock pistols, a Beretta pistol, 30 live cartridges and 4 liters of castor oil were found with him. And finally, there is Dr. Muzaffar Radar, who is Dr. Adil Radar's brother. He's currently absconding and he fled to Dubai about 2 months ago. 6 doctors across the geography of India, some of them belonging to Pulwama, nearly all of them tracing their links back to Jammu and Kashmir, but they have one thing in common: they are young, they are educated, they are professionals, and they are all deadly. However, when NDTV reached out to their families, their claims naturally were very, very different from the picture that is emerging. Listen in.
मुझे तो नहीं लगता, क्योंकि जिस टाइप का वो इंसान था, मुझे हैरत हो रही है। आप मुझे हैरत हो रही है कि वो ऐसा भी कुछ कर सकता है। वो फरीदाबाद में नौकरी कर रहे थे पिछले 1.5 साल या 2 साल से, क्योंकि मेरा बेटा भी 2 साल का है। उससे पहले वो जीएमसी अनंतनाग में था।
और आपके साथ हर हफ्ते राब्ता करते थे? हर बार
करते थे ना, बच्चों के साथ बातें करते थे, बच्चों से बहुत प्यार था, जुड़ाव था, लगाव था, उस वजह से वो ज्यादा बातें। वो जब घर आता था ना, वो क्रिकेट में इन्वॉल्व रहता था।
जी सर, पिछली बार वो आया था, हमारे पापा की सर्जरी थी, मुझे लगता है जून में। जी सर, सब एलिगेशंस लगा रहे हैं, ये बड़ा आतंकवादी हैं, टेररिस्ट हैं वगैरह। हमें इस सब से कुछ मतलब नहीं है। हमें पिछले 20 सालों से, पिछले 50 सालों से कोई केस नहीं लग रहा है हमारे घर को। हम पूरी इंडियन हैं, हमने इंडिया के लिए हमने पत्थर भी खाए हैं, ये आप लोगों से कह सकते हो। हमारा खेती बाड़ी का काम है, सब कुछ।
तो कैसा लड़का था वो?
जी सर, बहुत अच्छा, आप लोगों से कहो।
So is this the new reality of India? A new white-collar terror module, and how does India deal with this? Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense expert, is here with me in the studio. Yashwardhan Jha Azad, ex-special director of IB and former secretary of security in the government of India, and YC Modi, former DG of the NIA, also joining us on the show. But General Kulkarni, I want to first ask you, what do you make of this young breed of terrorists, young men and women who are educated? We were always told that it's easier to indoctrinate those who have nothing to lose. Why did these young men and women, Dr. Muhammad Umar, he had his whole life ahead of him, how did he get indoctrinated?
Padmaja, very, very interesting question, primarily because everybody associates overground workers, associates all kinds of sleeper cells with poor people, shepherds and things of this kind. Here you have indoctrination, here you have radicalized minds of people who are white-collared, very educated, doing medicine, some of them doing engineering. All of it is indicative that it runs far beyond than what we are looking at. The modules are there, people are sort of encouraging them, motivating them, funding them. You have that Al-Falah University. I'm sure not many of us have even heard of a university of that kind in Faridabad. Funded, charitable from Dubai. Here you have a university with 80 acres of land in Faridabad training. What is this person, Omar, who I understand was one of those who probably has got blown up? 7 years of teaching over there. What do these people have in their wardrobe? AK-47. You have another woman called Shaheen. What is she up to? Creating all these kind of modules, indicative, radicalization, and all this indoctrination has run so deep. It doesn't really matter how, but the more the educated you are, probably the more they are into it, not realizing, unless and until, Padmaja, we understand, nation comes first. Your own religion, your own beliefs come next, always and every time. As long as this understanding is there in everybody, nation always comes first. If that is not there, we will have these kind of indoctrination, radicalization, all of it. Funded? Who funds them? 7 years of all this medical education. Who funded them? We funded them. These are not the people from abroad or come from outside or from the neighboring state. Neighboring state may be encouraging them, motivating them, funding them, whatever they might be doing. But here, I must honestly tell you, Padmaja, I have seen it while operating as a battalion commander there, you have a family of 4, 5, 6 siblings. One of them is a teacher, one of them is a doctor, one of them is a plumber, yet another man in Anganwadi, and yet one among them is a militant or a terrorist. And it is he who gets the goodwill for the family in the entire. You see the houses. Have you ever seen a single Kashmiri ever begging? Have you ever seen a house without electricity? Have you ever seen a house without water? Who's funding all of it? All of it is being funded by all Indians, and irrespective. And despite all that, what do you find? These kind of indoctrination, this kind of radicalization coming from people who are so educated.
But the key question still remains, what is the catalyst? How did it start? Who are these people who eventually drew them in? Remember, at least 3 of these doctors are from the same village in Pulwama as well. My colleague Aditya Raj Kaul, in fact, has been speaking to his sources, and it emerges that there is a single figure, a local Maulvi who apparently was involved. What more can you tell us? What are the points that join these many different young professionals together? Aditya.
You know, Padmaja, what has happened over the last few days is a cause of concern. And it's a very serious cause of concern because terrorism graph might have come down over the last 5 to 6 years. But one thing that is challenging for India and for the Indian security establishment in Jammu and Kashmir in particular is the growing radicalization. The radicalization has not stopped. And there's a particular Maulvi called Maulvi Yasir who has been in Shopian. He has been the face of the radicalization in this entire chapter of the Jaish-e-Mohammed module, the module of the doctors that we are talking about. He's been the kingpin who has been trying to motivate, trying to radicalize the youth, the doctors, the educated, the so-called educated cream of the society in the Kashmir Valley. Not just that, you would remember, as you have covered Kashmir also very closely, Zakir Musa was very active. He was the commander of Ansar Ghazwatul Hind in 2016, 17 and 18. And in 2019, he was killed. But Zakir Musa became, this kind of a face, just like Burhan Wani. But it was Yasir who was the brainchild behind Zakir Musa. Yasir was the person who was radicalizing youth into Al-Qaeda ideology, into getting killed, into becoming suicide bombers, etc. So that is the reality of the matter, that they wanted to strike, and they wanted to strike deep inside the heart of the national capital. While the security agencies, the J&K police, the Delhi Police Special Cell might have foiled a major attack in New Delhi by catching 2,900 kgs of explosives, Padmaja, but this is a big alarm bell. The kind of attack that has happened in Red Fort. I've spoken to senior members of the intelligence and senior officers of the MHA who tell us that they're very much prepared, but this particular attack cannot be seen in isolation. It goes deep to Operation Sindoor and the consequences that Pakistan had to suffer, what Jaish-e-Mohammed had to suffer.
Okay.
And in this particular case, Padmaja, there has been an attack just kilometers away from the Prime Minister's residence. It is a panic attack. That's what we are being told. But certainly the guard cannot be kept low. They will have to be very, very vigilant. As in 14 years, there hasn't been a bomb blast in Delhi. This is perhaps the first time in 1.5 decades.
Are there more such people, preachers, who are working on the minds of young men and women, not just in Kashmir, not just in Ahmedabad, not just in Hyderabad, in other parts of our country? Are there more such sleeper cells? Let's focus for a minute, in particular, on Dr. Shaheen. Yashovardhan Jha Azad. We'd broken the news a few days ago that the Jaish-e-Mohammed was trying to set up a women's wing, but to think that they could have a fertile breeding ground in India itself. How do you look at the emergence of this Dr. Shaheen, apparently a recruiter, somebody who arranged the logistics for the Jaish-e-Mohammed, and in particular wanted to get women into their fold?
Well, you know, the radicalization attempts have been going on all over the world. And, you know, despite the fact that it's a surface now in the form of doctors, but if you recall, even the ISIS, through its internet, was trying to recruit even educated people. During the interrogations of those people who had gone from Kerala, the youngsters, quite a few of them were educated. Some of them died. Some of them ran away. And then they came back saying how they were lured into the whole thing by the ideology of the ISIS. If you look at the 9/11 attack, they were done by the pilots, aeronautical engineers. So this is a challenge which the security agencies have to face. As far as the women's wing is concerned, a lot of terrorist agencies have been trying to recruit the women into the ranks, and because it's very safe to have women, like it's very safe to have doctors renting a building and accumulating huge amount of explosives. So this lady who's a doctor and who's recruiting is obviously at the behest of, whether she's a Jaish-e-Mohammed, we'll get to know the details later. But it's a very frightening kind of a thing, because the linked with the kind of a sensational seizure which you had just now of 2,900 kgs. You can imagine if women are walking around with that kind of thing, with access to almost any place. As it is, I think that this module was ripe enough to be executed, because you had everything. You had 2,900 kgs. In Oklahoma, you had 2 tons, and you saw the damage which was created. So, my God, what an disaster has been averted. Because if you remember Delhi during the times of those blasts in Sarojini Nagar, Lajpat Nagar, and all these places, and if in their sights, as we know now that the RSS headquarters was in their mind, then the kind of mayhem which could have been created would have been amazing. Another thing, Padmaja, if you remember, the Jaish-e-Mohammed had launched that car bomb attack on J&K Assembly in October in 2001. And now you can imagine if the women recruits had been already in service while the module was being executed, then you can imagine the kind of major disaster which has been averted by the security.
So since you speak about just the sheer quantity of recoveries that has been made and what could have been, that is something that we need to delve into further. What really was this entire terror module planning? What all has been recovered? So far, everyone has spoken about the doctors, how these are young, educated men and women, but what all was found? 2 locations where major recoveries have taken place. One, of course, is the Al Falah Hospital in Faridabad, and the second was in Gujarat, where a separate terror module was also busted. Again, a doctor involved over there. I want to go to that graphic of the recoveries made, the Beretta pistol, the Chinese Star pistol, the 2,900 kgs of explosives that have been found. And that really will give you something to chew on. How much explosive? Mr. Azad just spoke about the kind of, or the amount of explosives that were needed for the Boston bombing. Can we please pull up that graphics of the recoveries that have been made? And here we have the recoveries from Faridabad. 1 Chinese Star pistol along with ammunition, 1 Beretta pistol along with ammunition, 1 AK-56 rifle along with ammunition, 2,900 kgs of IED making material along with electronic circuits, batteries, wires and timers, and there were at least 20 timers. So it's safe to assume that 20 timers along with 2,900 kgs of explosives would mean at least 20 bombs. At least 20 bombs if you have 20 timers present there. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. This is what they found in Faridabad. What did the Gujarat ATS find? In Gujarat, when another doctor, Dr. Moyuddin, was picked up, he had 2 Glock pistols, 1 Beretta, 30 live cartridges and 4 liters of castor oil, which is processed to make ricin, a poison that could largely go undetected, that could be mixed in food, that could be mixed in water. Mr. Modi, have you heard or seen something like this in your experience, where this kind of biological bomb almost, along with weapons, was discovered?
Padamja, I don't want to undermine the gravity of the recoveries, but I would like to correct that 2,900 kgs was not explosive. It was the material which could be converted after refining into explosives. But the serious thing is, we don't know how much has been moved from that place, and it may be parked in other places and other towns in the country. So it is a very, very serious development. But one good thing is that we have people who are the masterminds of this whole terrorist attack. So the doctors who have been arrested by Jammu Kashmir police, and if they are interrogated properly and thoroughly, we can come to know what are their plans, what they wanted to do, who were their supporters, who were their overground workers, who were their suppliers, who were their financiers. So it's a lot of work requires to be done by Jammu Kashmir police and now NIA to find out the whole network of these.
No, but Ms. Modi, have you heard in the past something like ricin being used? And I again want to underline that these men had gone and done a recce of the Azadpur Mandi, which is one of the largest mandis in the entire subcontinent. They had gone to a similar vegetable market in Vadodara as well. They had carried out a recce there, and they had gone and scoped out the RSS office in Lucknow. What were they planning, to your mind?
No, you will have to understand that their masters, their mentors sitting in Pakistan, for them it is a regular job. They keep on planning, they keep on guiding, they keep on mentoring these people. So they keep on discussing various locations, how to go about it. All these things, they keep on getting the guidance from guidance as well as financial support from Pakistan. So I am not surprised that they have wrecked some area, they have visited different places. This is all part of the bigger game which is being played by Pakistan today.
Okay, there is more news coming in right now. Intelligence sources are telling NDTV that actually the bomb blast took place, the explosion near Delhi's Red Fort was triggered by panic and it wasn't intentional. The suspect's IED was incomplete at that time. It was not properly assembled, and that is why the impact, thankfully, was limited. No crater formation. There were absence of projectiles, and it indicates that the device was not configured for maximum damage. Fill in the blanks for us, Aditya.
Latest, we are picking up from top sources within the intelligence community and the MHA that this was a panic attack that happened. It was not a very planned attack. Of course, they were planning something, but the intended target was not achieved because of the Faridabad module of the terror entirely being busted by the J&K police and other agencies, including the Haryana police also, which facilitated the entire raid. What we are being told is that there were no splinters that were found there. There were no splinter injuries also. The CNG, there was another theory of a CNG blast or a LPG blast. The CNG of this particular vehicle was found intact. It did not burst during the entire exercise of the explosion. And apart from that, there were no crater formation also in that particular area. So the well coordination between J&K police, the Delhi Police Special Cell and other agencies and intelligence community ensured that a massive terror attack could be averted in the national capital and the NCR region. Apart from that, I'm also learning that as of now, the NIA has officially taken over the entire investigation. They will be looking threadbare into it, and there will be raids that could be carried out in Delhi, UP, Haryana, and other locations to completely, decimate this Jaish-e-Mohammed module. So that's the latest that we are picking up, that when Umar actually came in, yesterday towards New Delhi, it was in panic because he did not know what to do. When all his accomplices were arrested, most of the material that they had was also taken into custody. He had no option but to leave from that parking and trigger that kind of, a bomb blast without an objective, without an vital installation in mind. So Red Fort seemed to be the right place because he must have heard in preachings of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Maulana Masood Azhar in the past that Red Fort could be that iconic place where, this could be triggered. But remember, yesterday, Red Fort was shut. So there were no tourists out there. There were no international tourists. So the crowd was less. It was unfortunately only local e-rickshaw walas and the local shopkeepers and passerby who became victims. But a major terror attack was really averted by the Indian agencies.
And now it all ties in because the way in which this man, Dr. Umar Mohammed, was wandering around the city. In fact, we have managed to track down his movement through Delhi. What happened? At 7:30 in the morning yesterday, his car was spotted at Asian Hospital in Faridabad. 7:30 in the morning. And remember, it It was just hours earlier that it became quite clear that the Jaish-e-Mohammed terror module had been busted. He left Faridabad, he was spotted at 7:30 in the morning. At 8:13, he was at the Badarpur toll, which is the border between Delhi and Faridabad. He crossed over from Faridabad into Delhi at 13 minutes past 8. At 8:20, he had reached a petrol pump in the Okhla industrial area, again extremely close to the Delhi-Faridabad border. 19 minutes past 3, that is when he entered a parking lot very close to the Red Fort. Near Lal Killa, there's a place called Sunehri Masjid. There is a parking lot over there. 19 minutes past 3, he had entered that parking lot. He stayed put there for over 3 hours. It's around 6:40 in the evening that he finally exited that parking lot, and then at 6:52 p.m. is when the blast took place right outside Red Fort, which makes one wonder, Yashowardhan Azad, that the target could have been more high value. Perhaps the entire day was spent in trying to look for targets which are more vulnerable, which are perhaps in central Delhi, which are more high value. And eventually he settled on the Red Fort area, a place which is packed and which has a mixed population.
Yes, a couple of questions related to that, Padmja. You know, I do understand that a major disaster was averted, but nevertheless, a terrorist act was committed, and 13 deaths and 26 injuries are no mean success for these terrorist organizations. Second point, you see, as you rightly said, the module was busted some time back, and then even this man escapes from there. Right? This was basically to escape. That is why it was not properly assembled. So then from Faridabad, he starts at around 7 o'clock, as you said, and he crosses 60 kilometers without being checked. On a day when you're having raids, I presume there should have been police nakas, there should have been some kind of, barriers at various places. And when it comes to Delhi, then I can understand that, yes, there is a lot of traffic. But if a car is loitering around, and if we have a smart control room, which is AI enabled, then, we should have programmed it in a way that such loitering vehicles which are moving around can be picked up by the control room and then checked. Now, these are things we have to look into very, very seriously.
100%, General Kulkarni. A car packed with explosives of this nature. And I just want to play out that visual, because when that first explosion was caught on camera, there is no doubt that the impact was huge. You could see the flames leaping into the air several kilometers. So we were just lucky that there wasn't shrapnel, there weren't nails inside. The man was in a state of panic. But like Mr. Azad said, how could he roam inside the national capital for a good 30 to 40 kilometers for a good almost 8 to 10 hours?
Adbaja, what happens is they are aware of something is happening. They probably may not be tracking him. It is later, otherwise he wouldn't be there in the parking slot for 3.5 hours. But we must give full credit for the synergy, the jointness exhibited by the JK police, the Delhi police, the Haryana police, the Gujarat police. All of them have worked together. Definitely they have been able to identify. But the fact remains, I think he panicked. And because he panicked, the ammonia nitrate mixed with diesel or mobile oil, along fitted with the, the detonators over there, all of it. Otherwise, he would not have been blown up along with his 2 associates. The very fact that he was blown up along with the 2 associates is indicative. The panic set in. He didn't know what had happened, and all of a sudden that it just blew off. And the resultant, as what the Delhi police have also saying, that there were no sharpnels, and that is one. And that is indicated the shock waves, all of it that went off in the air. If you recollect, even in the Beirut, in the same way in 2020, when this ammonia nitrate was used, 2,900 tons of it went up in that port over there, resulting in 3 lakh people getting displaced in Beirut. So it's similar kind of ammonia nitrate which is available freely, and therefore it's very important we have to track 24/7.
Yes.
Now it is a time that we must have a Minister for Internal Security, counter-terrorism. We have a Minister of Defence who takes care of the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of the country. Now there is a need. Of course the Home Minister is there, but he has other things also to do. Therefore, there's a person who must be responsible. Responsible, I say, not just now appointed, responsible to ensure the internal security. For otherwise, it is going to be very difficult. Nation first, always and every time. All these beliefs of theirs can follow later. But until and unless that realization sets in, and that is 24/7 the surveillance. No complacency whatsoever, because you cannot say that highly educated people may not be involved. They're very much indoctrinated, they're very much radicalized, and probably more now. And therefore, the need to monitor them, can keep them under surveillance. When we have the gadget, we have the electronic gadget, we have the artificial intelligence, we have the abilities and the means of cyber to know what is going on. Much that, of course, there will be Starlinks which might get avoided, but all of it can still be can be activated, can be orchestrated. But we must not allow these things to happen.
And that's that image I was talking about. Just in that split second where the camera goes towards where you can see the explosion, where you can see the flames, you can hear, if you just play that video, you can hear the blast and just how loud it was. The people almost shook. It's like the earth shook. So yes, there were plenty of explosives there. Now the initial investigation says it was ammonium nitrate, but we were lucky there were no shrapnels. There wasn't a pressure cooker bomb-like situation that had been created over there. Now that the NIA is investigating, Aditya, are these angles also going to be looked at? How did this car roam around? And more importantly and more worryingly for people, are there other Dr. Shaheens there? Are there other Dr. Umar? Are there other people related to this module still at large?
Well, absolutely. You know, this is an unprecedented situation that I spoke about, hasn't happened in 15 years. Jaish-e-Mohammed module entering Delhi NCR region with 2,900 kgs of explosives or other material that can be used to create explosives is huge. You know, in the last 14 years, we haven't seen that. And that's why it's unprecedented. And of course, the Delhi Police Special Cell, the NIA and the J&K Police will have to look deeper into it. And I agree with Yashovardhan Azad ji, when he says that whatever has been achieved by the Jaish-e-Mohammed isn't no mean feat. I mean, the kind of access that they have, the kind of radicalization that they've indulged in, inroads that they've created to make this happen in New Delhi, India's national capital, even though we have the best of technology, equipment, etc., says a lot. So we have to be extra vigilant. Also, what is amply important and significant, which perhaps we can discuss later, many would say that this is an intelligence failure. I don't see this as an intelligence failure because 26 days ago, the J&K police had information about it. I think this is more about the coordination between the forces that we need to speak about with J&K police, special cell, IB and others. Can there be a formula where there is an information or an intelligence that erupts at a national scale, immediately information is shared between the forces? Perhaps in this case, that did not happen immediately. So that could be a question that could be internally debated and, a course correction that can be done, because I've been speaking to senior officers of J&K Police, Special Cell, IB and other agencies. There seems to be some question mark on that coordination that could be looked into later. But the bigger question, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Pakistani deep state and their nexus to target India. India has been targeted, but perhaps right now the top priority to safeguard no such other attack takes place in the days ahead. And the last of the Jaish-e-Mohammed module members arrested immediately or neutralized.
One question that everyone's wondering about. The first part, of course, is tracking down the perpetrators, the conspirators, and the second, what is to be done with them. An indication of that today came from the Prime Minister when he was speaking in Bhutan. Now, I just want to put this in context. Soon after the Pahalgam terror attack, the Prime Minister had gone to Bihar. He was speaking in Madhubani, and then in the middle of his speech, he paused for a bit, he spoke in English, and he said that those who are responsible will be made to pay. And something similar happened today as well. Is this an indicator of what is to follow? First, listen in to what the PM said.
India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism.
हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
All those responsible will be brought to justice. That cannot have been a coincidence that he changed and spoke in English, General Kulkarni. April, the Prime Minister made that speech. 7th of May, Operation Sindoor was launched. What do you make of this?
See, this Alibaba and Charlie's chores, they all have to be hit extremely hard. All of them have to be hit. Not necessarily that, of course, the investigations will reveal where the dots are and where the connections are.
Remember, the Prime Minister said categorically, Operation Sindoor is on. It hasn't ended. It has only paused. It is currently on.
Definitely. It's what you're saying, Padmaja. Operation Sindoor is paused. It has not been shut down. And therefore, their options are still available. If the leads go to Pakistan, Pakistan buys it. If the leads are within our own country, those people buy it. So there is no question. The investigations will reveal as to where they are. If they are within the valley or even within the country, wherever they are, as is rightly said, whoever is responsible will be brought to justice.
And again, like I said, there are no coincidences. First, we had the Defence Minister make a categorical statement, followed by the Prime Minister. Here's what Rajnath Singh said.
First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt condolences to all those who lost their lives in the tragic incident that occurred in Delhi yesterday. I pray to God to grant strength and solace to the bereaved families in this hour of deep grief. From this platform, I wish to assure my citizens that the country's leading investigative agencies are conducting a swift and thorough inquiry into the incident. The findings of the investigation will soon be made public. I want to formally assure the nation that those responsible for this tragedy will be brought to the justice and will not be spared under any circumstances.
Are we to then understand, Yashovardhan Jha Azad, that something is going to happen, could happen in the next 1 month?
Well, why not? If the links are traced to the origins, which I think it will be ultimately, and that's what we are waiting for, then perhaps some action will be taken. But there are 2 points, Padmaja, which are very, very important, which have come up during the discussions right now. The first is, is the coordination part, which Aditya has rightly pointed out, and that's an extremely important thing. And I'm just telling you, and I'm thankful to the General also, that he raised a very important point about the Ministry of Internal Security, which needs to be created. This is extremely important. This is the need of the hour, because if you have a Ministry of Home, handling 40 different things, and, with security being one of them, in national security, it's not possible. And therefore, it is important that you have a separate Ministry for Internal Security. It should be headed by an IPS officer who's a professional, hands-on, and he can do an actual coordination between the various NGs throughout. Number 2, when you are talking about the major disasters being averted, one of the most important discoveries is of ricin. Ricin, doesn't have an antidote. Last it was used, Aditya will bear me out, was I think sometime in London, with the killing of some Bulgarian or somebody. Now imagine if this ricin was attempted to be mixed with prasad at some temple, you can imagine what kind of a social or a horrific impact we would have had. So in that respect, I would certainly congratulate these security agencies, what they have done. But the path ahead is as thorny, and it is going to be really needed to ferret out almost all these cells, the kinds of radicalization which are being attempted, not only in Jammu and Kashmir, but throughout in the south, Kerala. As I said, during the ISIS times, it was happening. And there is a lot of work which again needs a lot of coordination, which can be done by the Ministry of Internal Security. So there are lessons to be learned.
Exactly.
The government embarks on it.
And we'll be keeping track of each one of those developments, because if anything, this has shown us how deep those roots of radicalization go, how no one is immune, that you have people living in our midst. Al-Falah University and Hospital is literally an hour's drive from where we are sitting right now. It is just about 1.5 hours away from the heart of power in our national capital, and yet you had at least 3 doctors working there, studying there, practicing there, who in their spare time were planning to bomb their own country. For the time being, all gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us. We'll keep a very, very close eye on everything that comes out of this investigation and more.